Aloha, I'm Felicia Miller Johnson, and I conduct work life video interviews with career professionals that become an all intuitive conversation. Aloha, and welcome to another episode of All Intuitive Conversation. As an All Intuitive executive and life coach, I encourage individuals to live smart and ascend to new levels of success in their work and life. Today, I have the pleasure of connecting with Sarah, who I have never met before. So let's bring her to the screen. Aloha, Sarah.
Aloha. Hi. It's
How are
great to
you?
be here. Yeah,
Great.
really, really well.
Awesome. So you and I have not met before, other than the little preview that we just kind of did
Yep.
today. So I connect with individuals here on LinkedIn, and I'm excited because you're what I would describe as kind of out of the spiritual broom closet. Because on your LinkedIn profile, you actually talk about spirituality and all of that. So tell me a little bit more about you and this spiritual journey that you're on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I am originally Australian and I was born with certain gifts, things like being psychic, telepathic, a medium, channel, and telepathic as well. So I always heard I heard people's minds, which was really weird being a kid, not really knowing what to do with that information. And my mother was a hardcore Christian. So I feel
Mm.
like I got super blessed with being born into a home that had a very strong she was religious, but she was still spiritual. And so she had a very strong spiritual leaning. And I really enjoyed that life. I really enjoyed going to church and I sang and I danced and I did all the things. I'm a very all in type of person. So when I was channeling Christ at 4 years old or 5 years old, or even
Wow.
later on in my life, to my mum, she was reading the King James Version of the Bible, which I have nothing against. It's just not my jam. And anyway, so I kind of got shut down a lot. And then my whole journey, I've had a very big journey through actually drugs and alcohol. I don't do that anymore. But I had
Mhm.
I had 21-year cycle of pretty much destroying my internal world and cutting myself off from spirit. And as I kind of cleaned up my act and wasn't drinking and drugging anymore, I started to really align with spirit again. And I started getting messages. I started seeing visions again. And then in 2020, I met Mike, my current life coach. She's also an intuitive coach.
Yes.
And we started the journey together of me formalizing all of the gifts that I have into holding space for others to align spiritually so that they can come into their spiritual expansion and start living in alignment with their purpose and their truth. So I've been doing that now for coming up to 3 years. In March next year, it's 3 years. And yeah, it's just an amazing journey. It's just I feel so blessed. My expansion is continuing to happen. Like I get a lot of coaching, which
Mm-hmm.
is super important. I say that if you don't have a coach or if you've never worked with one and would like to see some form of expansion, like hire someone that's in alignment for you.
Okay. You dropped a lot right there. So that gives me a lot to kind of go with, which is interesting that the very first card that came out was this open door in this cupboard. But it was really symbolic of just like how you said that you're open in the sense of you're out talking about your spirituality now. Um,
Yeah.
at least on the LinkedIn type of vibe, you don't really see that as often that people are embracing their spiritual side of things. The next card that came out also was Archangel Gabriel, which is connected very much with whole communication, right, in our throat chakras. And when you were talking about how you were sharing at such a very young age. I want to go back there in the sense of when you were channeling and you're doing all these different, and you're growing up in a Christian home, which is very similar to myself as well in regards to Christianity. I live in Little Rock, Arkansas, the Bible Belt. And so, when
Mm.
you were kind of coming out with this, it's like, is this what you really,
Uh-huh.
really, want to do? So going back to when you were a youth and you were having these experiences, were you afraid? Was it just open communication? You would just say, "Hey, this is what I'm feeling, sensing someone's talking to me." Like, what was that like when
I
you would share?
I didn't know I was channeling. I
Mm,
just had no idea. And the response that I got from a very small amount of information from my mum was that it's not safe to do it. And so
oh,
intuitively, I knew not to tell my mum that I could hear people's minds, that I could do these things, because as a realized soul, I came here knowing my mission. This well, for many lifetimes, I've known what my mission is.
yeah,
So I still had that in the background. It wasn't conscious; it was in my subconscious. But I just knew that to expose myself would any more than I already was would cause like an upheaval.
discomfort.
My
Yeah,
mum would probably get me exercised, or they'd pray on me, and
the
it
holy
would be
water and
freaky.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Okay.
And I just wasn't up for that. But yeah, definitely did not know what was happening. I just heard God all the time.
Mm,
God was like, because I'd be in church and I'd be looking at everyone, and I remember hearing everyone's thoughts and being quite scared because they weren't they weren't being nice, you know,
mm. And
at
here you are
the
in church.
time.
Go
Yeah,
figure.
exactly.
Uh-huh.
Exactly. And so God was just like, look, stick with me, kid, you're gonna be okay. Like he spoke to me in language that I could understand, and that would just kind of get me through that period of my life.
Mm, okay. So, because in the next card that came out was showing like this whole thinking woman.
Mhm.
And the fact that you're able to hear people's thoughts and you're like, it's probably contradictory to what, we're sitting here and we're kind of learning and thinking about. But then you also shared a little bit about there was this time that I guess you were abusing drugs and all those kind of things.
Yeah.
Like, was that experience, like, was God still talking with you during that time frame? Like, or was you just like numbing it out? Like, okay, people gonna think I'm crazy, so I'm just gonna do these things in order to just kind of release that feeling and knowing. Like, what was that for you?
Yeah, so I feel like it was very much a numbing experience. And no, I did not hear voices anymore. I didn't hear, God.
Mm-hmm.
He can't get through that. That you kind of you're selling yourself into the darkness when you're doing those things. So, but what I did experience, I still experienced like ghosts, and I still experience paranormal activity in my life. It's just the nature of who I am. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
huge channel to the other side. So no matter who it is, no matter where I am, I'm going to experience spiritual shit. And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the bottom line. So
Mm-hmm.
I did have experiences that were quite scary. I had experiences with like probably lower frequency entities and things like that. Not a ton,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it was definitely. I was definitely still in touch with the realm, but not the realm that I am here to serve.
Yeah, it's interesting because the card that just came out was connection, and the
Uh
trigger
huh.
statement says it's too much. True statement says, I'm grounded in my body. But then it says, use your empathic abilities to connect with others. Discern the information you receive and do not take on what is not your own. So it's like discerning the information, like what's a high energy, what's a low vibe energy. And we're kind of, I think we're having more of an advanced conversation just because I'm familiar with that terminology. So how do you describe a low vibe energy spirit being
Yeah. So, are you talking in body or on the other side?
on the other side? Like, what is that like for you? How would you describe that? How would somebody know the difference between what we might say is a high vibe energy and a low vibe energy person?
Yeah. So the easiest way is how you feel. So
Mm,
if you feel great, then it's going to be a higher frequency energy. And if the energy is like causing depression, or, people can have entities attached to them that cause the depression that aren't the person,
yeah.
So it's generally how you feel. So if you feel uncomfortable in your body, if you've got aches and pains, if you've got super negative thinking and that wasn't normal for you, there might be lower frequencies around you, and I mean they can also attach to the other people in your life.
Yeah.
They can be around you as well. So, and I believe personally that it comes down to the mind. So if you can get your mind into a state that, like, meditate and be in a place that you are supporting your spiritual growth, then
Hmm.
you are feeding the light. So it's a choice.
Yes.
Everyone's choice is what are you here for? You can choose to live in the light and feed the light, or you can choose to live in the darkness and feed the darkness. I mean, I'm not saying that, like, all drugs are bad, because I believe in plant medicine and all those kinds of things. It's just,
Hmm.
how are you living your life? Are you living a life of selfishness, or are you living a life in compassion and love for yourself and for others?
Yes. I always think of Star Wars just because a lot of people, like, when they're like thinking visually what that looks like, there's a light side and a dark side. I know
Yeah,
because when I was coming out with this, the where people would immediately just always think of the dark side and the scary side of that. And it's like, no, I don't work in that realm. And even when people talk like, well, can you do this or do that? I'm like, no, that's not where
yeah,
I choose to go. I see the light, the higher being. I don't connect with that energy vibe. Now, I'm sensitive to it, like you said, when it's kind of around. Nope. Put up the hedge of the protection and kind of thing is like I choose not
yeah,
to go in that area. But there are individuals, because we all still have free will, that are able to do that, and they choose to go on that side,
yeah.
and it's going from there. So the next card that came out um, is asking me to ask you about your possibilities, because I see that you are intuitive coach as well. And what would you say you have within you that you want to birth into this world?
It's a really beautiful question. So there's a few things. I am being really called to speak on stage, and
Mm.
I've started writing my signature offering about
Mhm.
spiritual expansion, about what it looks like, have it digestible for everyone, for a large audience, people that are not only awake, but those who maybe they feel something different, and maybe they want to learn more about it. I
Mhm.
kind of explain what it is. I go into the word spiritual and the word expansion, and then I kind of bring them together, and it's fun and easy to digest, and that is what I'm very, very connected with Christ. So he came here and he said that everyone has the capacity and the capability to do what he did and be that great and more. So
Chill.
it's like,
Yes. Yes. That Sarah, that's connected with me because it's so many, like when you're having conversations with, like, with Christians, and we're talking about that, and just some of the the religion things that kind of get in the way. And it's like, if we're saying that Jesus is in us, the Holy Spirit, let's think about this. Why would you not have the powers and the abilities that he had then within you to be able to do? And it's like, it's interesting to see those aha moments that people have, or they're just struggling to think that they're not able to embrace that same type of power. And he was an example. I can do
yeah,
this, you can do this, as well. But yet I think there's such a fear connected with, like kind of like what you were saying about your mom. Like, it can go this other way, But it's like, what about the part that does not? Like, we can make those conscious decisions to be like, yes, we're going to be the light, be the example, light on the hill,
Mhm.
remove it,
Mhm.
glow in the darkness. Like, I
Mhm.
choose to be that person. So
Mm.
yes, I am so aligned with, we absolutely have the power that Jesus and the Christ,
Mhm. Mhm.
can have in
Mhm.
our life. Okay. So with birthing your abilities and making that kind of come forth, what's potential struggles you think you may encounter as you're doing that?
Um, Maybe the getting booked to do them, finding the right platform. I'd like to do a TED talk to start with,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm planning. So that's one thing, and then yeah, it's just getting out there. It's having that first person to trust you that you will bring value to either their team. It's either at an event. It's getting that first person to trust you, and and
Mm-hmm.
charging the right amount of money that I feel valued, they feel like they've got a good deal, so yeah, it's an interesting journey, that's for sure.
Well, I was happening with the injury as you were vibrating with that. Invigorating was the main word that came out. The theme says bliss. The trigger statement says, "Why am I here?" So you're talking about this TED talk, right? Why am I here? The true statement is I make a difference. And the encouraging word says, "You will have the motivation you need to express your light. Know that what you do today makes the world a better place."
Mm.
So connecting with that, so when would you like to have this TED Talk done? In a year, 2 years, 3 years? What do you
No,
think?
no, within the next 3 months I'd like to have,
Yes.
yeah, with at least have my, I'd like to practice it and have it ready within the next 3 months. And even before then, I would love to. And there's a group, I'm here in the Valley in Arizona, in
Oh, yeah.
Scottsdale. So there is a group that meets here on a Wednesday afternoon. So I'm going to schedule that in and go and meet with the TEDx group that's
Mm-hmm.
here.
Awesome. Well, the next question that's coming in, when I was looking at your LinkedIn profile, I was connected to this crystal chips of pyrite.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I pulled up your LinkedIn profile, I was like, oh, it kind of looks like that picture that you have on the back that has this mountain. Tell me more about this mountain that's on your profile.
In LinkedIn,
Yes.
I need to check it. It's so funny. I haven't been on LinkedIn for such a long time. I've been doing all my social media on
Y- Yes. Because I was
oh,
like,
I feel like that is, oh, okay, cool. Yeah. So that is, that mountain here is in Sedona.
yes,
It's Thunder Mountain.
yes.
And when I was there, I lived there in 2021 for the month of May, and I was there over Mother's Day. So at the time, I wasn't very close with my mother. We've had quite a strained relationship. And so I was feeling sad. It was Mother's Day, and I wasn't talking to my mum. She's she's just some things in my life that weren't aligned with my journey at the time. We speak now. We have a great relationship. Um,
Mhm,
and so this mountain, I'm a jogger, so I was jogging up
mhm,
the mountain, and it was a beautiful day, and the mountain was calling me. It just kept calling me. It's like, come up, come closer, come closer, come closer, and I was
mhm,
just running towards the mountain, and then she said stop, and she was like, connect with nature. So I grabbed a branch of a tree, and she said, I am your mother. and and this was just a moment, like, I started crying. It was Mother's Day, and a session with my coach earlier that month, she'd said that there was this mother embodiment energy that was coming into my life. She was like, oh, that's weird because I obviously already have a mother. But
mhm.
when I told her that it was a mountain, she was like, wow, that makes sense. So I have a mother mountain. I call her Mother Mountain now. uh, so yeah, She's very, very, very special to me.
Okay. Yes, because when I was led to the question, because I was holding off from holding, was that motherhood
Wow. Amazing.
was the connection with that. And so then I was like, okay, I noticed that you also talk about the divine feminine energy. And so I had this deck, and then it talks about
Uh-huh.
the cosmic egg. And it says on
Mhm.
here, I hold the universe within me. I am the force of an ever expanding love. And as you were just connecting, like, what do you want to birth in this whole situation and the whole struggle that at this time? Because I was like, why am I being called to this? Like I said, this crystal looks like this
Mhm.
mountain that you're going to. Um, like, what is that connection with that? And so it is, and I put the bliss of why am I here right above that motherhood picture
Mhm.
of
Mhm.
which is kind of like what you were sharing about, like, why am I being drawn and attracted to this particular mountain? So cosmic egg, I'm going to read this because evidently there's a message from you there. 214 for you, because it's not even a person, which now explains it. Like when you talk about the motherhood, it wasn't like, so you're talking to your mother now, but that you have a motherhood in the mountain. And it says, the cosmic egg is the core symbol of the divine feminine's creative force. It's a spiritual motif found in the certain myths of countless cultures and civilization. It represents a birth, which, like I said, the woman
Mhm.
is pregnant here. Represents a birth, a new beginning, or an expansion of life. What does it mean? Nothing needs to happen. Everything is exactly as it should be. You hold the universe inside you. All life emerges from within. If you try to exert pressure for something to exist before it's ready, that new life within won't have the time it needs to fully form. The cosmic
Mhm.
egg is the essence of the divine feminine. It is the ultimate symbol of the creative force that exists within each one of us. It's the dark, loving womb that holds and protects all creative expansions of life. If we allow what was in us to emerge in divine timing, in chaos or soul time, then what's within us will transform us. The egg is the trust that what is ours can never be taken from us. So there's no need to answer the ego's push to rush the process, to impress others, or to complete something on someone else's timeline. The egg is the faith that you process is sacred, that even in the midst of what looks like chaos or delay or even death, there is a tendril of new life that needs only trust or eventual take form. And the egg is the knowing that life begins again after death from within. The message
Mhm.
that's also kind of coming through encouraging you is that beautiful 3 months, but if that baby takes you 9 for that TED talk, give yourself
Mm.
grace, peace, and
Mm.
understanding. It's not a failure whatsoever, but just know that everything will be divine timing and encouraging you that even if it's not 3 months, then if it's 9,
Mm.
that all is well in that regard.
Mm. Amazing.
Well, Sarah, it has been a pleasure connecting with you. Thank you so much for sharing your stories and your life with us. I hope you were encouraged to live smart and continue to ascend to new levels of success in your work and life. Thank you for those that have joined us live. And until we meet again next week, this has been an all intuitive conversation.